All right, is the lighting good? The lighting looks good.
That's good.
All right, here we are, class of 72. I hope you can hear us, and I think you can. All right, my name is Richard,
I'm Kevin.
and this is the class of 72, and tonight we're going to talk about the singles that enter debuts, the debut singles on Billboard's chart, Top 100, for the day of February 12th, 1972. And we're going to start with the one that entered the chart at the highest, which is this one right here, James Brown, Talking Loud and Saying Nothing on Polydor Records, debuted today at number 61 and would peak at number 27 on the Hot 100. It reached number 1 on the soul charts.
Wow.
And one of my favorite songs from the Ghetto Boys, Talking Loud, uses a sample from this song. I'd also like to point out the label, this James Brown label, Polydor. Of course, James Brown did have a couple of labels of his own, one being called People and another one being called Brownstone. But this was the label that predominantly put out his records, was Polydor Records. And you know it's a James Brown single when you see his head right here spinning, okay? Not only that, but his name is on the record 5 times. We have it as the artist, as the writer of the song. It's also produced and arranged, and it's a James Brown production. So 5 times his name, James Brown, is on the label, plus his face. So that's some hardcore, heavy-duty promotion. So I gotta give props out to James Brown.
Was this in his height of his career? I would assume.
I would say that 72 was a highlight of his career, if not one of the heights. Of course, he was huge in the 60s.
Yeah.
But 72, he had it going on. In fact, I have a small tie to James Brown. The last James Brown show that he ever performed here in Austin, Texas, I did the silkscreen posters to promote that show for.
Wow.
So I'm very proud that at least I got to do something for James Brown. Ta-da! All right, moving on. Santana, No One to Depend on Columbia Records. This song debuts at number 66 and would reach number 36 on the Hot 100. Santana, of course, was very popular in the late 70s. He's a performer at Woodstock.
Yeah.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, might have been on.
That's the story.
Some a substance.
On a substance at the time.
Yeah. Allegedly, I don't know. Possibly, I think I might have heard an interview with him where he talked a little bit about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I remember hearing he thought his guitar was a snake or something weird like that. It's like an old
Whoa!
story that went around.
That's awesome.
He definitely looks into the music when you watch the video.
Wow, that's so cool. Santana. Oh, and I'd also like to add that this song right here, No One to Depend On, was covered by a band called Macho. I don't know too much about this band, but this single in particular was recommended on January 22nd, 1972 on Billboard's magazine. And it's an outstanding cover of the Santana song. It's on a label called Prophecy Records. It's distributed by Atlantic Records, but I don't know anything about the band or the label. Up next, B.J. Thomas, Rock and Roll Lullaby on Scepter Records. This one debuts at number 71 and peaks at number 15 on the Hot 100. This song was written by Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, who were a songwriting team in the 60s and 70s, and they wrote a slew of hits that you didn't even know they did. B.J. Thomas, of course, is very famous for his rendition of Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Oh, okay.
The Burt Bacharach, Hal David composition. If I'm not mistaken, I might have won a Grammy. The horns for that song, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, were recorded at Sugar Hill Studios in Houston, Texas.
Wow, really?
Yep. I walked in there and I saw the sign and kind of freaked out. Yeah, B.J. Thomas. Wonderful, wonderful singer-songwriter. So this is the stock copy that you get on Scepter Records. Oh, I also might add, hey, let's get into this. Scepter Records, the address on the bottom right here is 254 West 54th Street. 254 West 54th Street in the late 70s would become a club called Studio 54.
Oh, I know about
where
this.
the disco madness ensued.
Yeah, I've heard wild stories about that.
Yes.
Studio 54.
Oh, yeah. And coincidentally, the Studio 54, when it was Scepter Records, also had a recording studio in the building where in 1967, Andy Warhol would take the Velvet Underground to record their debut album, Velvet Underground and Nico.
It was there?
It was right there
Wow.
in the 254 West 54th Street. So a lot happened going on in the Scepter Records. Here is a promotional copy of the same single in mono. And now, Rod Stewart, Handbags and Glad Rags on Mercury Records. Debuts at number 80 and reaches number 42 on the Hot 100. Kevin, you have a Rod Stewart story.
Yeah, it was back at the end of like high school. I went on this little trip. We went to like the British Isles, and we were in London walking down with my class, and over to the right, I hear someone say, "That's Rod Stewart." And outside of like this really nice car, Rod Stewart's getting out with his security, going into, I believe it was like a hotel. Everyone's just going crazy, like Rod Stewart's coming out on the street right next to us.
That is awesome. That is totally, totally awesome because in 1972, as far as I'm concerned, Rod Stewart was like one of the biggest rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
He was like on the total rock star hype. I mean, this guy embodied the whole deal. He was in that band Faces, which was really, really cool. And then he did that stint with Python Lee Jackson with the song called In a Broken Dream. That's just magnificent. It just kills. And the songs that he put out as singles in 72 are just incredible. Yeah, so Rod Stewart, total rock star. He hands down. He was awesome.
He definitely is.
And someone bought this for 69 cents at Target.
Ooh,
What a deal. Can't beat that.
it's a cool sleeve.
Oh, yeah. Up next, Yes, Roundabout on Atlantic Records. And this is a song from the Fragile album. And it debuts at number 88 and would peak at number 13. Almost a top 10 hit for Yes.
It's probably one of the most famous internet meme songs now, too.
Yes, and I recently discovered that through you because I had no idea. The younger generation knows this song quite differently than what my generation knows this song for.
That is true.
But I have a Yes story, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or I should say, yes, I do. My brother told me that Asia, a band that the frontman guitarist Steve Howe was performing in at the time, was coming into town to Austin, Texas to perform at this place called the Back Room. And he asked me if I wanted to go down there to go meet Steve Howe and maybe get his autograph. So we went down there. He comes off the bus. He signs a few records. And my brother asks him for a photo. And he kind of snaps at him because it was cold outside. And I asked, I told him, I promise it'll only take a second. And he said, I'm giving you 5, 4, 3, 2. And just before he said the last second, I snapped the photograph. And when I did, he turned around and just walked away and was very upset and quite rude. But, I don't know what kind of day he had that day. So regardless, that's Yes. Yeah. And then in the 80s, Yes would release this same single on an oldies series because from 1972 to 1982 is a long time, folks. That's a decade. So, of course, now it's old. So it's an oldies. All right. Next up are TheGrassroots with the song called Glory Bound on Dunhill Records. And this one debuts at number 89 and reaches number 34. And And the Grassroots, they were a very popular band in the 60s. And I think the younger generation would know who the Grassroots are because of Nirvana.
Oh, really?
I can't remember the exact name of the song, but I know it's side 2, song 1 from Nevermind. Kurt Cobain's does a rendition of "Come On People Now, Come Together,
Oh,
Everybody Love One Another." It's a Grassroots song.
that's a Grassroots
That's
song?
a Grassroots song
Oh,
from, I
wow.
believe, 67, 68.
I never knew that was from another song. I
Yes.
just felt like he did that.
So this is the band, the Grassroots, in 72. So that's a little sweet little connection there. Now we have, this is the same song, a promo label, Mono, the Grassroots, Glory Bound. Up next, we have the Mamas and the Papas, Step Out, on the same label, Dunhill Records. And this song entered the charts at number 90 and would peak at number 31. And Mamas and Papas, of course, had a slew of hits throughout the 60s. And if you look on the back of these sleeves, these ABC Dunhill sleeves, they always promoted records on their label. See, there's some from the Grassroots, Emmett Rhodes, B.B. King, James Gang.
James Gang.
Yes.
Yeah, I never, with Mamas and Papas, I always think of them as just like a 60s band.
No, they
But
went into the
maybe-
70s.
I mean, I just don't know.
Mhm.
Too much later stuff.
Up next, we have Terry Black and Laurel Ward, Going Down on the Road to L.A. on Kamasutra Records. These guys were also known as Black and Ward, Terry Black and Laurel Ward. This debuted at number 94 and reached number 57. And this was a song written by Roger Cook and Roger Greenaway. Roger Cook and Greenaway were two magnificent songwriters that wrote a slew of hits in the 60s and 70s, much like Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. In fact, I'm probably going to do an episode devoted just entirely on the songs that Roger Cook and Roger Greenaway did in 72 alone, because they did probably a dozen, maybe 15. They're great songs, and you probably have heard a few, and maybe you haven't. And it's on this cool Buddha record sleeve, and whoever bought it wrote, "Road to L.A., Black and Ward." So they wouldn't lose the sleeve or confuse the sleeve with other records in their collection. Now we have Rock Flowers, a song called Number Wonderful on Wheel Records. This would be the only release that Wheel Records would have in the Billboard's Hot 100 throughout the whole year of 1972. And unfortunately, it debuted and peaked at number 95, so really didn't go anywhere. But I like this song. It's a trio of females, one named Rindy Dunn, another named Artie Tillman, and a female named Deborah Klinger. They were known as Rock Flowers. Up next, we have Little Milton. That's What Love Will Make You Do on Stax Records. This debuts at number 96 and reaches number 59 on the Hot 100. And this would debut at number 46 and reach number 9 on the Soul charts. Little Milton. And this is the stock copy that you get with the classic Stax sleeve. And this is the promotional copy that you would find at a radio station. And I'd also like to take this time, since we're talking about Stax and Memphis things, there's someone named John Mitchell who does Groovy901.com in Memphis. He makes these incredible stickers from labels in Memphis and other record labels, and they are just brilliant. Moon Records of Memphis. Wow. Incredible. They look striking. They're awesome. Razorback Records.
I like that little toad.
So check it out. John Mitchell, groovy901.com. And now we're at Fair and Young. It's 4 in the morning on Mercury Records. This song entered number 99 on the Hot 100 and reached number 92. However, in the country charts, it went all the way up to number 11.
Wow. Very young.
Fair and Young, he's most notably known for the song called Hello Walls that Willie Nelson had wrote in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And it's on the Mercury label. And Billboard magazine on this day, February 12, 1972, recommended this single called Good Friends from the Poppy Family. And there you have it, folks. That is what happened on February 12th, 1972. Those were the debut singles. And I want to thank you for watching, and we'll be back with next week to let you know all the singles that debuted on Billboard's charts.
See you next week.
Thanks for watching, everybody.